Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is July 19th. Today is day 287 since October 7th. Today in the Netherlands, the United Nations top court, the International Court of Justice, issued an unprecedented decision that said that Israel's presence in the Palestinian occupied territories is unlawful. And it called on Israel to end the occupation and settlement construction should stop immediately. This was unprecedented. It was a sweeping condemnation of Israel's rule over the lands that it captured in 57 years ago, in 1967. This was considered an advisory legal opinion. It was also, it identified Israel's occupation as de facto annexation. It said that Israeli settlements in the occupied territories are illegal under international law. I wanted to go through a few points about this opinion. The ICJ called for the evacuation of the settlements, for the return of displaced Palestinians, and for the payment of reparations for damages. The court also called out Israel's systematic failure to prevent settler violence against West Bank Palestinians. The ICJ said that Israel's occupation involves systematic discrimination, segregation, and apartheid. And it said that racial segregation in the West Bank is due to the complete separation of two peoples. The ICJ also said that Gaza is effectively occupied by Israel despite the disengagement in 2005 from the Strip. The opinion said that Israel should pay reparations for damages caused by the occupation, and it found that the UN Security Council, the General Assembly, and all states have an obligation not to recognize the occupation as legal and not to give aid or support to maintaining it. Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, lashed out at what he called lies. He said the Jewish people do not occupy their own land. The far-right National Security Minister Ben-Gvir said that the ruling was anti-Semitic. And he added that the time for annexation is now. Israel's foreign minister rejected the ruling and said it was blatantly one-sided. The Palestinian president, Mahmoud Abbas, Abu Mazen, welcomed the court decisions and said that this was a victory for justice. The Palestinian presidency urges the international community to demand that Israel, as an occupying power, end the occupation and withdraw unconditionally. Last night into this morning, this is Friday morning, there was a drone attack that hit Tel Aviv. There were no warning signs. A 50-year-old Israeli man was killed in the drone attack that hit Tel Aviv. 8 people were wounded in the strike, with 5 later released from a hospital on Friday morning. The drone was not intercepted, despite it having been identified due to human error, according to Israel's Air Force. According to the Saudi news agency Al Arabiya, Yemen's Houthis launched a ballistic missile and 4 drones towards Israel. The report said that U.S. forces intercepted the ballistic missile and 3 drones, while the 4th exploded in Tel Aviv. The Houthis, who are based in Yemen, claimed responsibility for the drone attack that hit central Tel Aviv the early hours of this morning. I mentioned that one man was killed. He was in his 50s and others were injured. The defense minister of Israel, Gallant, said that Israel will settle the score. And with those who caused harm and perpetrated terrorism across the country after the attack. The IDF spokesperson Hagari said that the military believed that Houthis were responsible. I just mentioned, they had claimed responsibility. And Gallant said that, he would hold the perpetrators accountable. The Israeli state told the High Court yesterday that under Prime Minister Netanyahu's orders, detainees from Gaza were transferred from that contentious military prison called Sde Taman to the Ktsiot prison. It's unclear how many prisoners still remain in the notorious prison that's in the Negev desert. According to the IDF spokesperson Hagari, there are mounting signs of Hamas's military chief Mohammed Deif's death after last week's Israeli strike. This was the strike that was so devastating in its effect on civilians that happened last Saturday. Hagari said that Deif was sitting next to a Hamas leader that was killed in the strike, and he said that Hamas is trying to conceal the fate of Deif. The IDF reported that it attacked an UNRWA compound that served as the Hamas headquarters in Gaza in the Zaytun neighborhood. The army said militants were present at the headquarters and that measures were taken to reduce harm to civilians. I will just note that reports have indicated this past week, 7 to 10 days, have been some of the worst death tolls in Gaza in the last 9 months. The Israeli army said on Thursday it killed a suspicious individual who tried to cross into the Israeli territory from Gaza, and the German foreign minister Baerbock on Friday today called for a ceasefire and criticized the Israeli Defense Forces' actions in Gaza, saying that a few and absolutely overcrowded places that have been declared as safe zones by the Israeli army are being hit again and again. At the Republican National Convention, Donald Trump said that he would end, quote, the war caused by the attack on Israel, end quote, that he alleged was created by the Biden administration. The House Speaker Mike Johnson pledged at the convention that the U.S. Capitol Police would arrest anyone who tries to disrupt Netanyahu's speech. That's happening this coming Wednesday on July 24th. Netanyahu is scheduled to speak before the joint sessions of Congress. Just a reminder that Churches for Middle East Peace and our coalition partners are hosting a prayer service this Wednesday morning at the United Methodist Building at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. That will also be live streamed. U.S. Secretary of State Secretary Blinken said that a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas was within sight and that negotiators are driving toward the goal line. The Israeli army said that 65 rockets have been launched from Lebanon into Israel since just this morning, Friday morning, and the IDF said that yesterday it had killed 2 commanders from Hezbollah's elite Radwan force, as well as additional fighters in Lebanon. According to reports from Lebanon, 18 people were also wounded in those strikes on the northern border of Israel and the southern border of Lebanon. In the West Bank, 2 civilians and 2 soldiers who were on leave were wounded in a car explosion that happened yesterday at the Harmesh settlement in the West Bank. Israeli security forces are searching for suspects involved in the incident. And the European Commission said that it would provide the Palestinian Authority with $435.5 million in emergency financial support over the next couple of months. The money will be dispersed in the form of grants and loans, subject to progress in the implementation of a reform agenda of the Palestinian Authority. According to a report in the Financial Times, the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, is willing to join a proposed multinational stabilization force in Gaza. And the U.S. Department of State said yesterday that it's sanctioning 2 individuals and 5 entities associated with Houthi attacks on commercial shipping that's been in the Red Sea over the past several months. The UK has announced that it's going to resume its funding to UNRWA, the UN refugee agency that serves Palestinian refugees. The foreign minister in Britain, who's a part of the Labour government, told the parliament he's been reassured the agency that they've taken steps to ensure it meets the highest standards of neutrality. I can confirm to the House we're overturning the suspension of UNRWA funding and will provide 21 million pounds in funds to the agency, he said. The UN Human Rights Office, OHCHR, warned today that anarchy is spreading in the Gaza Strip. There is rampant looting, unlawful killings, shootings as the population is facing an acute humanitarian crisis. The head of the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs for Gaza and the West Bank described unlawful killings and lootings because of the lack and absence of law enforcement linked to Israel's dismantling of the local capacity to maintain public order and safety in Gaza. The Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas is set to visit Russia next month and to meet with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, according to news reports today, citing a diplomatic source. Just a reminder that this Sunday, the 21st, is Solidarity Sunday, and we're inviting you and churches around the country and the world to join us in standing with solidarity for the sustainability of Christians in the Holy Land, praying for peace in Gaza, throughout the Middle East, in Palestine and Israel, calling for a comprehensive and permanent ceasefire, working together to prevent genocide. We'll be having an online community prayer time on Sunday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We hope you'll join us online with messages from Christian friends from Palestine, praying together for peace. May God go before us. In the name of Christ, amen.